Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. Always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So the 2021 College Football Playoff National Championship game is tonight, and I'm just going to give you a preview of the game between Ohio State and Alabama, how the road to how the teams got here, key matchups, and ultimately who I think is going to win the game. But before we get into it, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, who you think is going to win, what's going to happen, all that good stuff. And let's go. So for starters, I think that this game is going to be really, really competitive. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm super excited for the matchup. But now I'm going to break down the individual teams. Let's go. So we're going to start off with number 1 seed, Alabama. We all know Alabama is a super mega powerhouse in college football. Arguably the greatest program ever, and this year's no different. Entering the playoff, they are 12-0. They are powered by their Heisman trio. They had Devontae Smith, who was the Heisman winner. Mac Jones was a finalist, and Najee Harris finished 6th in the voting. If I believe he was either 5th or 6th. So they had 3 guys in the top 6. First team ever to do that. And you throw in some other guys that I'm going to mention later, and they are one of the most historic offenses in college football history, just from a production standpoint, star power. They were second in the nation in points per game, behind Kent State, who only played 4 games. So you can do with that what you want. But with this super-powered offense and the traditionally pretty decent Alabama defense, they won the SEC championship game over Florida by, I think, 8 or so, and then they smashed Notre Dame in the college football playoff semifinal in the Rose Bowl. So that's how they got to this national championship game. Now, Ohio State, for as definitive as a playoff team as Alabama was, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Ohio State's season. First, they weren't even sure if they were going to get to play. The Big Ten said that they weren't going to play in the fall, and then they really pushed for it, and they came back, and they got it. And then their season started, and they only had room for about 8 games. And due to COVID and cancellations and everything like that, they only ended up playing 5 regular season games. And the Big Ten had to change their rules just for them to get into the Big Ten championship game. And so they entered the college football playoff as the 3 seed and as a team that had only won 6 games. And there was a lot of people that didn't feel like they deserved to get in. I felt like I wasn't sure if they deserved it, but I knew they were one of the best teams in the nation, so I was okay with it. But as far as team on the field, they've got a great quarterback in Justin Fields. He's going to be the second quarterback taken behind the generational prospect that is Trevor Lawrence in the NFL draft. And then in the earlier in the year, their number 1 guy was Master Teague, but due to COVID, he hasn't been playing lately. But Trey Sermon's picked up the slack. He had over 300 yards in the Big Ten championship game. He played great against Clemson in the semifinals. They've got 2 great receivers in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, both dynamic downfield threats. And then their defense is led by Shaun Wade and Haskell Garrett. Shaun Wade's a corner. Haskell Garrett is a defensive lineman, and you throw in Pete Warner, who's their leading tackler. And they've got an explosive offense and a good defense. So they're just an overall good football team. They won ugly against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game, and then they soundly defeated Clemson, which shocked a lot of people, including myself, in the college football semifinal Sugar Bowl. And maybe we should learn not to pick against Ohio State as underdogs in the Sugar Bowl, because the last time they were in that exact situation, they beat Alabama when Zeke and Cardale Jones were there. And so now they're going to play Alabama for the national championship game. As far as keys to the game, I think the biggest key obviously is going to be how is Ohio State going to handle Alabama's offense. Alabama is so stacked and complete on offense that there's really no right answer to defend them. Are you going to load the box to try to stop Najee Harris, who's going to be a first-round pick, the first running back taken off the board, a Heisman contender, or are you going to try to stop the air attack that's led by Devontae Smith, Heisman winner, Mac Jones, Heisman finalist, John Mechie, who I think is going to be the next great Alabama receiver, Jahleel Billingsley, who is an athletic enough tight end to where he returns their kickoffs, and then potentially Jalen Waddle, who is probably going to be a top 15 pick if he leaves for the draft. You throw all that together, that just sounds like a really, 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 really tough matchup. and it's going to be difficult to do. How well is Sean Wade going to do on Devontae Smith? Are they going to leave him in one-on-one coverage? I think they'd be dumb to, but are they going to double? I think probably the key for Ohio State is their defensive line play, because if the defensive line can be disruptive, then obviously, that affects a lot of different things. That just has a lot of residual effects. So I don't think that the Ohio State secondary and linebacking core is good enough to stop or even slow down the Alabama weapons. But if the defensive line led by Haskell Garrett can be really disruptive, like they were against Alabama, Alabama's line is better, but Ohio State still has a good defensive line. Alabama's offensive line is better than Clemson, so I don't think Ohio State will be quite as disruptive. But if they can be semi-disruptive, I think that might give their offense a better chance of winning the game. I think definitely the matchup that's going to be really interesting is the Ohio State offense versus the Alabama defense. This is not a 2012, 2013, 2014 smackdown Alabama defense. I mean, obviously they're still good. They're still super talented. Come on, it's Alabama, but they're not. This is not Alabama's stoutest defense in the Nick Saban era, and especially after the way Justin Fields played in the semifinal game and the way Trey Sermon has been playing, I think that we are on our way to a high-scoring game, and I think Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, whichever one is not getting guarded by Patrick Surtain, because Patrick Surtain is probably going to be the number one corner in the draft this year, or at least near the top, a real lockdown guy. Whichever one of them is not being covered by Patrick Surtain is going to have to exploit their matchup in order for Ohio State to have a chance to win. I believe that. And I think Justin Field has kind of heard some of his criticism about his progressions and him forcing the ball too much. And obviously, I don't think those flaws were super big like last season. They were kind of where this year. I think he was just trying to force the ball, trying to do his hot. I think he had so much expectations on him or whatever, but he's kind of, if he plays like he did in the Clemson game, then it's going to be a absolute shootout. I don't think Alabama's quite got the stuff to handle Justin Fields like that. Will Anderson, who's their linebacker, who's one of their better pass rushers, is going to have to be the key to disrupting Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to have to make plays with his legs. I expect him to. He's fantastic and talented. But so those are the keys. I really think it's going to come down to whose defense plays better, because both of these offenses are really explosive with really good quarterbacks and really good weapons. So I think it's going to be which defense can make more plays, maybe not stops, but just, who can get a pick, who can get a crucial third down sack. Whichever defense gets more of those, I feel like will probably win the game. As far as who I think will win, I think it's going to be really close and really competitive, but Alabama is just so explosive on offense. I really don't see how Ohio State can keep pace with them, even for as explosive as they are. So I'm going to say that Alabama's going to win 42-35 in a super close shootout. So thank you for watching today's video. Do you agree with my pick? Do you have Ohio State winning it? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on any of the fun. Check out all the link content. You have a great day.